four-time NBA champion Shaquille O'Neal is one of the most dominant big men in NBA history. But today, we're going to see if Victor Wembanyama can fill his shoes and live up to the hype. And in time, we'll see Wemby pair up with other legendary players as he goes from team to team just as Shaq did. But for now, it all begins with his rookie season as a member of the Orlando Magic, where he would have little to no issue adjusting to the 90s NBA. Because while Shaq was known as a dominant interior scorer with a shaky jumper, to put it nicely, Wemby is the complete opposite, preferring to work from the perimeter instead, eventually stepping into Shaq's shoes nicely, averaging a strong 17 points per game. And when you combine that with his work on the defensive end, it's not surprising that already he's adding to his trophy case just as Shaq did, starting off his NBA career with the Rookie of the Year award. He is off to a very good start in Shaq's shoes. But if you thought Wemby could easily replace an all-time great and immediately take over the league, you're completely mistaken. Because while he'd helped the Magic make it into the playoffs, a feat that not even Shaq could do, he would be welcomed to the postseason by none other than Michael Jordan, who needs no further introduction. Wemby has the potential to become an all-time great and might be the future of the league. But right now as a rookie, he's nowhere close to outdueling Eric Jordan, who would send him home easily with a sweep. That's really not surprising at all. And with MJ going all the way to win the championship and immediately retiring, it's clear that Wemby has a long way to go to catch up to his legacy. But as far as catching up to Shaq goes, he would get one step closer in season number 2. All starting with the fact that he's getting some help with the arrival of Penny Hardaway, an elite rookie point guard with the potential to be an all-time great.
Penny was cold, and that's why I always tell people he was Kobe before Kobe.
Which ultimately means that Wemby has now stepped into the first of 4 iconic duos that Shaq was a part of during his playing career. And while Penny Hardaway's really good, eventually it'll get even better. But while we're on the topic, we have to talk about Wemby himself, as he's averaging 24 points compared to last year's 17, as well as 13 boards per game. And when you combine it with his improving inside game despite his thin frame, what you get is a 60-win season for the Magic, finishing as the 1 seed. And with Michael Jordan retired from basketball during this season, as well as the media hyping up the Magic as the Eastern Conference favorites, the stage is set right now for Wemby to go potentially all the way. So with the basketball world watching, Wemby would not disappoint, defeating the Nets in the first round and the Hawks in the second to make it to his first conference finals. But his run of dominance wouldn't end there, and if anything, it would be ramped up, as he would storm into Charlotte and quickly take a 3-2 lead, now giving him the chance to make history in the following game. He's 1 game away from making the finals, and he's only in his 2nd season. And to keep it short, Wemby would continue to dominate in Game 6, all summed up by 1 final possession, with the Magic up 2 with less than 30 seconds left. Orlando's got to hold on to the lead for 30 more seconds, and they're moving on to the finals. They're about to throw it down into the post. Here we go. Wemby being tested on defense. Alonzo Mourning. Blocked by Wemby. And that last defensive play would be the dagger in the Hornets season and the start of Wemby's first ever appearance in the NBA Finals, coincidentally making it at the exact same time as Shaq did in real life. But just like their play styles, where their stories go from this point onwards are completely different. As while Shaq would eventually lose in the finals, Wemby would continue where he left off in the previous round, holding on to that momentum to take over the finals against the Portland Trail Blazers, taking not 1, not 2, not 3, but the first 4 straight games of the series, securing his first NBA championship with a sweep, a feat that not even Shaq was able to accomplish. And to top it all off, there's still plenty of other Hall of Famers for him to team up with later, especially one in Los Angeles. But while it seems like Wemby's on the come up and that it'll only get easier from here, the 1995 season would throw even more challenges onto the table.
Michael Jordan announced today that he's officially returning to the NBA. Nobody knows his true motivations,
but some NBA experts feel it has to do with the newly crowned NBA champion Orlando Magic and their young phenom, Victor Wembanyama.
Which obviously will hurt Wemby's chances to repeat as champion. But on the flip side, it seems like he's not worried at all.
It just felt funny how I really don't care.
Which could potentially be a take that ages poorly, since it seems like the Bulls haven't missed a beat since Jordan's return. But for now, let's focus on Wemby's trip in Shaq's shoes, as he's putting up a Shaq-like stat line of 26 points and 14 rebounds, all topped off with the Defensive Player of the Year award, the first of his career. But while the Magic would win 64 games compared to last year's 60, they would actually go down in seeding to the second. with, you guessed it, Jordan's Bulls at the top of the conference with 66 wins, perfectly setting us up for a matchup between the two in the conference finals. We're gonna see if that championship last year was real or not. And just as a reminder, during Wemby's rookie season, his first playoff appearance ended at the hands of Jordan and the Bulls. But there is a case to be made that the loss he took back then drove him to win the NBA title last year. And for now, that theory would seem to be pretty true, as Wemby would not only match but surpass Jordan's production in the first 4 games, ultimately resulting in the Magic taking a 3-1 lead over the Bulls. But this series is far from over, and there's no way Jordan would just fall flat, as he would take the next 2, bouncing back to force Game 7. But while it may seem like Jordan would have the upper hand based off experience alone, it would be the opposite. Wemby would dominate one last time, eliminating the Bulls to move on to the finals. Wemby has successfully taken down the face of the NBA, and of course, the media is going wild. But the very next day, Jordan would be in the gym, because while he's lost now, it's definitely not the last we'll see from him. In the meantime though, Wemby would make it to the finals where he'd have to take down the Suns, ironically led by Charles Barkley, while Jordan was still in the gym working. And eventually, Wemby would defeat Charles to win his 2nd title and finals MVP in only season 3, while Jordan was getting ready for revenge. Wemby's replacing Shaq's spot in history, but so far it seems like he's on his way to surpassing him. Everything's set up for him to dominate the league for the next 2 decades. But you can be sure that there's someone working out in Chicago with a plan to prevent that all from happening. We'll see how that works out for Wemby as we prepare to enter the 1996 season. But before we do that, it's worth mentioning that he'll be leaving Orlando